Hi everyone. So today we are going to start the development of the backend to our quiz Django React application. So let's do this. So first thing that we want to do is to close everything from here because we don't want anything more related to the backend for the next lessons. And we are going to open the backend and we are going to open a new terminal. Again, you can do a shortcut or you come here, terminal, new terminal. We're going to open two. So for the backend, we have to start to cd to the backend. We're going to do this in this terminal and this in terminal. You're going to see why, because I like to run the Django in the first terminal and doing the rest of the commands in the second, which we can already do. But first we have to activate our environment. So it's going to be source dnv scripts activate, and again this is different for different machines and operating systems. So now when you have this, it means that it's activated. And what we are going to do now, it's run the server. Run server. And there it is. We have 18 deployment migrations. Does not matter. So if you come here to port 8000, we come here and our server, it's working. So next, one thing that we can do, again, we have to activate the environment in the second terminal. And now let's pip install Django AutoSlug, which is going to enable us to use the AutoSlug for field creation. Now what we can do, it's some good practice. The good practice that we can do to create our requirements.txt. And now to create the requirements, it's pip freeze. Let's just do this to check something. Okay, pip freeze. You type this, and now you redirect the output to requirements.txt, and this is going to create in here in the backend beautiful requirements.txt text with all the dependencies that we have installed. And as you can see, that Django AutoSlug is now here, and all the others. So now let's start the really meat of the project, and we are going to create our quiz app. So this is like the app that is general. This is usually for settings and URLs that we have to do a little bit some more configuration after. And what you're going to do now is to create our quiz app. And on there, we are going to create the model, the views, and all of that stuff that's going to put our API to work. So to do that, we type here. Okay, and the command to start the app is Python manage.py. Okay, manage.py start app, and here it's the name of the app, which we are going to name it quiz. So it's going to create here, and voila, we have our quiz app. And the general overview that we are going to do is we create the models, and after we create like a serializer which is going to connect the models to the views. And after this, we have the views. We create the views with the views to be displayed. In that case, not to be displayed, but to send the information on the URLs. And after, we connect the views to the URLs that you are going to create here after. What you're going to do now is to create the models. And the models is one of the things more important, because I can say it's going to be the backbone that it's going to feed all the APIs in the case that we are rendering data, and it's going to receive the data from the outside world. So to create our quiz, let's first try to understand what we are doing. We are creating a quiz, and a quiz is going to have a title, some questions, and some answers. So this is the most basic thing that a quiz can have. But to create a model, what we want to do is to isolate the logic the most possible. So we don't want to create maybe the questions and answers on the quiz, but maybe we want some different models for each one, and we want to connect them, to relate them. So to be more clear, let's try to make some schema, some diagrams here. That's better. Quiz. Okay, so here we are creating the quiz. And what do we want for the quiz? First, we want here some title. So the title of the quiz, which is going to be a string, we think. The author, we want also the author. That in that case it's going to be a string. This is because we are not using users in that project. So if we had like user accounts, we could relate the author with the user that created here. But here we want just to have an author. And what we can also add is created at. So the date is going to be a date. And here what we want to have more, it's the slug. So the slug, it's going to be something that's going to appear in the URL. So this is to give more meaning to the name of the URL. And that one is going to be a string. That's going to be the slug fields. And what can we already do? We can already start to do that. So what I want here, it's only two things. So I went from Django.utils translation, import get text lazy. So this is a feature that it's going to help Django to translate the meaning of the content that we have here to different language. So it is like going to be like placeholders. So when we are going to do translation, we are going to have these placeholders, and Django is going to easily translate from one language to others. It's actually a good practice. And from AutoSlug, the thing that we have installed, we are going to import auto slug field. Okay, next what we want is to try to understand where are we going to put the questions here. So the questions is going to be another thing similar to this. It's going to be another diagram like this one. You can push that one a little more here, and here you want the questions. So now we have to understand what each questions should have. First, each question should have like a quiz. So to be related from which quiz it is. So it's going to be a foreign key. The foreign key will allow us to relate and associate the questions to the quiz. So here we are going to retrieve which quiz it's from. So it's basically a way to link. Next, the question should also have a title. The title, it's basically the question in itself. And it's also need to but it's good practice. Also a created at, which is going to be a date. Okay, this is the question. So what is going to do? This is going to relate with the quiz, and next we just have the answers. And for the answers, what we want the question, which also is going to be a foreign key. It means that this is going to be related with this. So all the answers have to be associated with the question in particular. And for the other fields, we also want the answer text, which is going to be a string. And we want to know if that answer is right or not, because we are going to build a multi-choice quiz. So imagine, so we have a quiz, we have 10 questions, and each question can have 5 of 6 answers. So to that questions, we are going to relate all the questions, the 4 questions, the 4 answers to equations, and we want to know which one is right. So we're going to have is right, that's going to be a boolean. So if it's right, that one's going to be true. If it's not, going to be false. But okay, now that we have this, let's start to create the models. First, the quiz. So we come here, we create class quiz models, model. Okay, so our first field is going to be the author. So for this, we're going to use a character field. And for this, let's name this author, max length 50. It's okay. Next, we want the title. So here, I used a shortcut before, but let's do that the traditional way first. And after we keep going with the shortcuts. So here, let's add the quiz title. And it's not necessary, but it's a good practice to name this. Next, max length, then that we want 255. That's okay. We want the title to be unique. Yes, I think it makes sense. It's going to help us to not confuse one quiz to another if they have the same name. And let's say the default name, it's going to be new quiz. Okay, and that's good. Okay, so now we have the quiz. So let's add some metadata and some methods. So one thing, when I create a quiz, I want to know how many questions it has. So for this, we're going to create define question count, and here we're going to return self.questions.count. You're going to understand that a little bit more later, but it's going to be used in the serializer. So let's add the metadata, and here it's like some things very simple. For the metadata here, let's going to add here quiz, variables name plural. It's going to be quizzes. Is going to help us, for example, when we will be in the admin page, Django will read this to understand when what is the plural name for the quiz, for example, because normally it only adds one S, but here the correct way is quizzes. And let's do the ordering by ID. Okay, that one, it's done. So now let's go for the questions. For the questions, let's come here It's going class question, and the same thing, models dot model. Okay, here let's start defining the quiz. So the quiz is going to be a foreign key, which is here. And what do we want here? Here we want the model first that we are going to relate with. It's going to be quiz, and here we're going to add another field that's going to be relate name. It's going to help us to connect models in the serializer. So it's going to be name questions, and on delete we can say cascade. What it means on delete cascade? So each question is associated with one quiz, and what do we want to do with that quiz? So you want to relate the question to the quiz, but if we delete the quiz, we don't need more the questions. So this means that if a quiz is deleted, we are going also to delete the questions, because if you delete the quiz but you still have the questions, you're going to have questions that you don't know which quiz is from because it don't exist anymore. Next, let's use the title. The title is the question in itself, max length, default is going to be empty. We also don't need the default. Remove the comma. Now, so that we forget something, I forget actually the created at. Not necessary, but it's good to add. And the good thing about that one is date time field, and let's delete that. And what we want is auto now at equal to true. What that means, each time that we create an instance of a quiz, in other words, each time that we create a quiz, this date it's going to be added automatically at the time that we create it. So this is why this is good for the created at field. It's going to be exactly the same here, but here we can have another one that we are going to call updated at. So in the future, what we want to do is to update the question. For example, we want to correct some words or edit a little bit the question because it was not right. So the created at, it's going to be only when we create the instance, in that case the question. The update, it's going to be every time that we update, we want this field to update. So it's going to be also a datetime field, but the difference is auto now at equal to true. We're going to have auto now equal to true. It's going to be every time that we edit this, it's going to update here. And this is it. Now we have to do the same thing as meta variables name to be equal to question. Let's copy this here. Questions, and the question model, it's done or not. Something that I forgot, it's actually to the string going to be self. We don't need this, and here we are going to return self dot title. This is a method to name the instance properly when we are in the admin page that we are going to also to see after. Next, what you have to do, it's also a lot easier. So define string return title. Okay, which it's correct. Last one, we have to define the answer model. Answer model is going to be the same thing, models dot model. We can actually almost copy all of these, at least these last two. Okay, the created that and the updated that is going to be the same. The title, let's put a more explicit name. That's going to be answer text. It's going to be a char field, but here max length can be 255. But here we can also accept null information. Here, let's delete. No, actually, let's do that now. So instead of a quiz, the answer is going to be related to a question. So here we named it question. We keep the foreign game. Here we use question. Let's do like this, or like this. Question relate name. Going to be answers, and on delete cascade, also because when we delete a question we don't need the same answers. And only field that we also have to add here, it is right, which is going to be a boolean field. It's going to be by default we want to be false, and it's also accept null. Okay, so now for the meta, let's add the same thing, and the same thing here. Instead of title, let's name this answer text, variables name, answer, and answers. Okay, and the video is getting a rating too long, but we are done with the model. So this is the model of the quiz that we're going to use to feed our front end in the future. So we created 3 models. Let's recap again. So we created 3 models with quiz, questions, and answers. And each quiz is going to have a title, an author, and also the created at date. A quiz will have multiple questions. So this is why you have like the foreign key. And each question is related to one and only one, in this case, quiz. Here we have also the title and the created at. After each question has, for example, 5 or 6 answers. So each answer is related to a question which is also going to be related with the quiz afterwards. So in that order. And we're going to have like 5 questions and only one of them is going to be right. Okay, this is here for the models. Next, we are going to take a look on the views or the serializers. which now that we have the information, we are going to process the data to be able to create the API after. So thanks everyone for this video. It's all. If you enjoy, put a like and subscribe. It's going to help a lot. And see you in the next video.